Breaking news today. The U.S. funding must end. Zelensky is all alone. It would be unfair to interpret Channel 12's announcement of Volodymyr Zelensky's trip to Israel the following week as an effort by the Ukrainian president to regain the attention of the international media, which is currently focused on the conflict in Gaza. Following the Hamas attacks on October 7, Zelensky expressed his intention to go to Tel Aviv to show his solidarity, also supported by the parallel drawn by Joe Biden between terrorist attacks by Gaza militias and the Russian invasion. The Western Bloc's focus has clearly shifted from the war in Europe to the war in the Middle East over the past 3 weeks. On Tuesday, Zelensky said, "The modern world is quickly getting used to success," and he charged that the Allies were taking for granted the achievements of Ukrainian forces on the ground. One of these was the forced withdrawal of the Russian Black Sea Fleet from the western coast of Ukraine, an event that will remain in the history books, as the Ukrainian president put it, before adding, somewhat frustratedly, "But now we do not talk about that much." The Western alliance that Washington forged and maintained throughout the conflict in Ukraine now appears to be suffering from war fatigue. This was always the goal of Vladimir Putin. It appears that the outbreak in the United States was triggered by the conflict in Gaza. At a Senate hearing, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin vowed that, without our support, Putin will achieve victory. He was pleading for additional funding for Kiev. A tricky political dilemma confronts the Biden administration at the moment. The new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, rejected a $106 billion military aid package for Ukraine and Israel, including $61 billion for Kiev, because he wanted to keep spending categories separate. Firstly, on Thursday night, $14.3 billion in aid to Israel was approved, with the money coming from a reduction in federal tax agency spending. "We'll get to the rest of it after that." His line, which also ruled out funding for humanitarian aid in Gaza, immediately won support from the more conservative wing of the Republican Party, a wing that points to Donald Trump. The fact that 10 Democrats voted with Republicans in the House is a source of concern for the White House. Despite senior Republican leader Mitch McConnell's assurance of bipartisan support for Ukraine, there is a risk that the decoupling line will also move to the Senate, where the Democrats have a slim majority. It would be a setback if the Aid to Israel Act were the only bill to be vetoed by the president, as Biden threatened he would do. The White House will be accused of turning its back on its main ally in the Middle East, even during the war. An impending confrontation is imminent. Meanwhile, the administration announced a new $425 million aid package to Kiev in response to Johnson's action, with $130 million coming straight from the Pentagon's arsenal and $300 million going toward developing laser guidance for munitions to hit Russian drones.